This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 9, Episode 13, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington across social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the mighty Rick Snyder empire. I like that. And so please like, share, subscribe, comment, and even hit the thanks button, you cheap bastards. Why won't you hit the thanks button? It's Monday. We don't do this for free. Well, we do, because none of y'all hit the dollar sign, but whatever. Okay, Matt, I guess I'm bitter. It's over. And I'm not a fan. I'm a journalist. But this was so frustrating to watch a team for the second time in 3 weeks lose to the other worst team in the league. I thought the Giants' loss was worse than the Bears.
Oh, for sure. For sure, 100%.
And 14-7 historically looks close, but they were just manhandled the whole time. And if you thought that was a close game or whatever, you don't know football.
Yeah, because as soon as on the first offensive possession that they had, third down, the Giants brought the house. You knew what this was going to be. You could just tell from the beginning. It just seems like right now the Washington is everybody's get right game. The Bears, we haven't won a game in 14 straight games. You beat the Commanders. The Giants had 4 new starters on the offensive line. Their quarterback's hurt. Everybody else under the sun is not playing. They beat the Commanders. So, it is what it is. And unfortunately, Rick, it is time. It is time for Rivera to go.
Yeah. The only question is the timing, because an in-season dismissal, all you get out of that, you get one game from the team. One game, they'll play hard. Always bet that game. After that, they go back to the reason the coach got fired. They'll give you one. And I looked at it. Let's just say they did let him go. Who are you giving the team to? You going to give it to Del Rio because he's been a past head coach? But he's one of the reasons why you got fired. Are you going to, and Del Rio, they're afraid he'll say something and everybody will get fined to get over a dust up or something. Do you give it to Eric Bieniemy? I think he's got his hands full trying to call the offense right now. And if this team goes 10 games, 2-8, Eric doesn't want that on his resume.
No.
So then, to me, you give it to Nate Gazer, the special teams coach, who has been a coach for about 30 years. So he's not, you don't know him. You think, and special teams coaches, Joe, there have been guys before who did it. Mm-hmm. Not often, but it's an interim thing. I think he could command the respect of the room enough. But I just don't think they'll let Ron go. Unless I don't know how much worse it can get. Maybe, but I don't think so.
Well, and when I say it's time for Ron to go, I'm not saying at the end of the year it is time for Ron to go for sure. The bye week does line up to where they could fire Ron during the bye week, and then they had 4 games. But realistically, what does that change? I think my bigger picture is Ron, the personnel man, has to go. And it's not just because of their recent downfall. It's been all 4 years. And I think I said it last week. The biggest problem that I have with Ron, the player picker, is you draft a guard, you move him to tackle. You draft a tackle, you move him to center. You draft a defensive lineman, you move him to linebacker. You draft a linebacker, you move him to tight end. I understand the need for flexibility so that you can carry less guys and you can bulk up positions that you need extra guys. Like we've seen with this team in the past. Hell, one year they went through 9 quarterbacks, it seemed like. And they need skill players that they want to hang on to. But I'm sorry, if you can play 2 positions, you're not a master of a position. It's the old adage, jack of all trades, master of nothing, right? So, and look, I don't want people to think this is all Ron, but it is all Ron. Marty and Marty are token. I'm sorry. They are just position in name only. They may be the one. They're not even the ones calling the draft picks. We all know Ron's making the call on draft night. We've seen the videos. You know, this year alone, your draft, you knew going into this season you were starting a rookie quarterback essentially with one game under his belt. You chose to bring in a older offensive lineman from who obviously had connections to Eric Bieniemy. You brought in another guy who was often hurt from the New York Giants, who actually has probably been their best offensive lineman up until the Giants game. And that was it. You pick a corner and another corner that you've converted to safety with your first two picks. I say honestly, keep Ron Del Rio, keep them all through the end of the season, because when this team ends up finishing four and whatever it is now, 13.
Got your math going. Yeah, 17 is 4.
I keep forgetting. I'm so used to saying 4 and 12. Anyway, this job becomes more sought after, I think. Obviously with the changes at the top, Dan's not here anymore. I believe that, it all starts with a team president and then it starts with a general manager. And I think with the ability to draft within the top 5 in your first draft, that this job becomes sought after. And I think that Harris and Magic and Rails can get whoever they want as far as those positions. And then you let the general manager pick the head coach. You let the general manager work with that head coach to pick your players. Let's have a normal football team, tree.
You remember when Las Vegas odds makers put up the over-under at 6.5 wins, and I went, bah.
And we all scoffed. We all scoffed at it like, oh, what does Vegas know?
Man, they hit that one right. That's 6 is where I think they'll finish probably, and that gives them 3 wins more. But I mean, going back to the personnel thing, I do think you do get rid of everybody, and one of the reasons is name a second-round pick they've had that have done something. That guy's supposed to start. Time's up. Nobody. All right, now name a first-round pick that you're really excited about. Time's up.
He plays for San Francisco.
I mean, Dotson maybe, although Dotson never drops anything and couldn't hold on to the ball.
That was the one thing that I've been saying all week, Rick. What was the plus side of Jahan Dotson? You throw it his way, he's gonna catch it. He's got Spider-Man hands. He's catching everything. He has had more pivotal drops this season than I've seen out of any other receiver on this team.
Yeah, that surprised me greatly. When you go down the first round picks, Chase, we can see that just didn't work. Well, some of it was the injury, but some of it was Chase, but that's not working. All right, then you've got Jamin Davis, who's after a couple years a serviceable player. That's not a first round player. Then Dotson, who I think can still be a pretty decent player for them, maybe with a new OC or somebody, a little bit different. I mean, Samuel probably won't be back next year, so he could get more there. And then this year, you got Emmanuel Forbes, and we'll talk about that more in the next Friday show. But, he got benched. So your first 2 rounds are guys who you have to hit on. Mm-hmm. You didn't get jack out of it.
And if you want to expand it to the second round, they took Fedarian Mathis last year because they thought they were going to lose Deron Payne in free agency. Mathis doesn't play at all last season. Has he done anything this season? Not of note.
He got a couple plays in again, but he's like the new Sadiq Charles.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, Quan Martin's the same way. Quan Martin, he's done maybe had 1 or 2 plays where he's been noticed. And then it's all injury and concussion. I mean, he was in concussion. He went into the tent for a concussion against the Giants. It's you need to hit on these guys. And look, Ron has done well with the back end of the roster. We've talked about this. Obviously, finding a guy like Cam Curl, whether it's here next year or not, I think Cam is going to get a substantial pay raise. But, guys that you don't draft offensive linemen in the 4th, 5th, 6th round and they become all pros. The offensive line is just as important as the defensive line, and they have disrespected the offensive line for the past 4 years that they've been here. Yeah, okay, you took Sadiq Charles in the 3rd round. He can't stay healthy. You took Stromberg. The only reason he got in there was because of an injury this year. I mean,
Yeah. All right. So here's a few guys I would say, how could you fix things? Well, you really can't. But we should go down. All right. Offensive line. I think Chris Paul might play this week because Sadiq is hurt. Know more about that on Wednesday. You're doing an MRI, but he's a slow healer. I don't see that one, on there. And as far as that goes, Cody Barton, I don't see he has a high ankle sprain. They were doing an MRI to see how bad it is, but a high ankle sprain is a broken bone,
Mm-hmm.
and that's 2 to 6 weeks. So Cody's gone. I would do Cornelius Lucas. I'd put him at right tackle over Wiley because Cornelius has always played well whenever he's been in. And then I would go ahead and put in Stromberg over Gates. Let's see what happens. It's a little, putting a rookie center with a rookie quarterback is a little risky, but what do you got to lose at this point? Now, will they make 3 offensive line changes in midseason? No, they'll probably just put Chris Paul in because Charles is hurt. They just won't get off the dime. And that's not just this coach, it's every coach. Once you pick the starters, they rarely change unless you suck.
And Rick, how many years have we heard, oh, Chris Paul is progressing well, but he never plays? I don't believe anything that comes out of Ron's mouth at this point. Look, I wouldn't make those many changes on the offensive line because of the team that you're playing and the fact that Sam is back there and he's going to get killed as it is. I mean, you're turning him into to David Carr. He's going to break the sack record. It's like, it's another season where I just wish we could hit the fast forward button and get it over with.
Yeah, but then my whole life would have been wasted away. But all right, so here's the big one. Is Howell the firm starter? Because Ron kind of talked out of both sides of his mouth on Monday. First the presser, he spends first 5 questions talking about Howell and how great he is, and they got a young quarterback, and this is going to work great. And then Ben Standing of The Athletic asked him, so you're committing to Howell for the whole rest of the season? Well, we'll see how things go. Wait a minute, what the hell is that? To me, that was ding, 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 ding. Where's my bell? Ding, ding. But anyway, to me, that said a lot. I still have.
And you brought his name up, so let's get into it. Emmanuel Forbes gets benched because what did he need? A little bit more seasoning or whatever Ron says. Well, he hasn't been playing well. Obviously, Hal hasn't been playing well for other reasons. You can place some of the blame on Hal's shoulders, but I don't think you can blame all of it. We saw the just outright gangbusters that the Giants were throwing against us in the Bills game. I mean, they have 9 sacks that game. I mean, it's insane to think that you're going to sit Forbes, but you're not going to sit Hal. So
Hal's had to keep playing in Buffalo because you have to have young players play through adversity. So why isn't Forbes playing through adversity? Well, every time he makes a big mistake, it's a lot of points, but Hal's big mistakes also are points. People forget he had a pick 6 basically there against the Giants, and the guy dropped the ball on like the 12-yard line. I mean, oh my God, there's a pick 6, you're walking in, and he dropped it. So I think Hal has been, it's because he's getting chased for his life. And then that's where real quick, when we talk about Eric Bieniemy, why aren't you scripting better plays for him? If he can't, why are you dropping back 5 and 7 when you doesn't have time for a drop back of 3? It's basically get the ball, throw it out of your hands. As soon as you get it, bam, gone. Throw the screen, throw the short plays, whatever you got to do. And they started doing that in the second half. And when I say they have success, is that they weren't getting buried. But, the only touchdown they got was off Giants botching a
it was a gimme touchdown.
Yeah, so otherwise they get nothing. So what's the play calling going on there? I mean, I can call some of EB's plays and I know exactly what he's going to do. If I know what he's going to do, they sure know what he's going to do.
Well, yeah, that's the thing for everybody screaming, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. This team can't pass block. You think they can run block? I mean, look at Brian Robinson has no holes to go through. I don't think Eric Dickerson and Barry Sanders could get through these holes and get any yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be ugly the rest of the way.
I agree.
Maybe they can get a bingo caller come in. And I just think EB's got enough to worry about on calling his game plans and getting better at that, and then become a head coach. Because you want to promote him right away, and head coach has got a lot of stuff to do. Usually it's putting out all the fires around here, but it hadn't been as bad for that this year. But But I just think that'd be too much and unfair. And then, they go 2-8, and you stand there like, yes, I'd like the job. Well, you went 2-8, and it looked pretty ugly. But it's not my fault, but yeah, that's how it works.
Mhm.
So we'll see. All right, we're gonna run. So we'll be back on Friday morning. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And thanks for coming.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent with your hosts, Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.